Welcome back to the Freedom First podcast. This episode is sponsored by Jeffrey's Firearms Training, where shooters make shooters. For more information, contact owner Ronnie Jeffries on Instagram at Jeffrey's Firearms Training. Our guest is someone we have a lot of respect for, someone we admire greatly. We've been looking forward to having this conversation with him for a while. This man's been at the bottom, top, back at the bottom again. He's had his back against the wall several times in his life, and he's always had that never quit mindset. He's a Rodeo Cowboy, 14-time National Finals Rodeo Qualifier. He owns No Limits Mentoring, and he inspires and educates kids, adults, and everyone in between. He's a pride of Texas, the man in pink. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 2016 NFR World Champion, Mr. Tyson Durfey. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Freedom First podcast. Today, we have on an amazing guest, 2016 World Champion tie-down roper, Mr. Tyson Durfey. Welcome to the show, Tyson.
Hey, guys. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's an honor, and thank you for coming on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, glad to do it.
Awesome. So, kind of start off, I noticed you just came back from Utah skiing, and it was a Deer Valley?
Yeah. It was Deer Valley is where we were at. Spent 3 days out there, and it snowed 12 inches right before we got there. So it was just awesome.
Yeah,
it was perfect. One of the guys that was there with us, he was like, "You guys showed up at the perfect time." And I'm like, "Yes, I'll take it. Let's do this." And it was the last day was a blizzard. I'm not gonna lie, it was a blizzard. But other than that, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I've seen some of the stories on your Instagram and stuff. It seemed like you guys had a lot of fun.
We did. Yeah. My kid, we're in Texas, right? We don't get snow down here.
Yeah.
Literally, if it snows like this much, people are canceling school and cars are in the ditch. And out there, it's like expected. If you're not driving on snowy roads, it's not normal. So we really loved it. My daughter loves, Frozen. So she's all about the snow and all that. So it was a good time. We really enjoyed it.
I see now even like in Vegas on the desert floor, there's snow out here on the West Coast, so it's always
nice.
Good. We definitely need it.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
All right, Mr. Durfey. So on the show, we do the Freedom Minute. So basically, it's rapid fire questions for you. They're going to be a little bit random. They're going to come at you pretty quick. So I'm going to shoot you with the first one. The first one is your most memorable moment in your rodeo career.
That's pretty simple. My World Championship 2016, most memorable moment. The thing that most people don't realize is I was 32 years old when I won the world the first time. So I was one of the older guys already. I'd been in the National Finals 9 times and hadn't got it done. Been close multiple times and always fell short. But, winning that was like, I don't know, maybe a gift from God and life's work coming to fruition. It was a pretty awesome moment.
Awesome. If you could travel anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Man, I've been a lot of places in the world. One place I have not been is I would love to go to Italy. I'd love to go to Italy. I love history. I love, studying the Romans and certain things like that. So I'd definitely have to go there, check out the history. Other than that, probably Greece, maybe Greece, the Parthenon. I'd like to see some of that stuff. So that's an area of the world I've never been into. So I would love to go.
Yeah, those are beautiful places. So
Right.
yeah, that's definitely on my bucket list as well. So
all the history that, the Roman Empire, the Republic, and the transition of it all.
Yes, sir.
All right. So question number 3 is the most impactful book you've read.
I mean, it's got to be the Bible. Obviously, the Bible, I read it every day. It's something that constantly is teaching me and getting me better. Other than that, there's so many good books out there. Maybe Think and Grow Rich, maybe Earl Nightingale. There's some other crazy books that I'm reading out right now, by Napoleon Hill's Outwitting the Devil. And it's an interview of a guy talking to the devil and how the devil tricks us like nonstop. So that one's kind of like crazy,
wow.
And it's pretty deep, but I like that one. There's so many, man. I've read so many books. I constantly am reading books, and there's a lot. But the Bible's got to be number one for sure.
Right, and that's one of those keys. If you look at almost every successful person, they're voracious readers for the most part. Like whether it's in business.
It's crazy for me because I'm dyslexic. I'm ADD. Finally at 37 years old, I'm starting to get it all like under control. I didn't take medication or do anything. I mean, I just worked my tail in the ground when I was younger. But now I'm starting to get it all under control, and I enjoy reading now. Whereas for the first probably, 20 years of my life, I didn't like it a whole lot. I had to teach myself to like it. So I'm learning. I'm a slow learner, but I'm still moving forward.
No, we're right there with you.
Yeah.
If you could sit down and have a conversation with anyone throughout the history of the world, dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh man, that's a big one. Man, it's probably gonna have to be Billy Graham. If y'all watch and haven't recognized, my faith is a big part of who I am. I love Pastor Billy Graham, Reverend Billy Graham. He's somebody that shaped my life. I've listened to at least one sermon a day of his for the last 3 years. I listen to it in my truck. I think he's a very motivational, very inspirational person, and he keeps it all in the right avenues and the right channels. For a guy to speak and have 1 million people show up to listen to him speak the word of God is unbelievable. In South Korea, he had 1 million people show up in one day.
Wow.
In one day.
One day.
He probably spoke to more people than anybody in the history of the world. I mean, an average sermon to his would draw 80 to 90,000 people, and he would do them for 3 weeks on end to 80,000 people every day for 3 weeks on end. He spoke to millions of people. So I would love to sit down with Billy and our Reverend Graham and talk to him, just his life experiences. He knew every single president through his entire walk. He counseled presidents. He knew every world leader. Like, I think that guy is probably more well connected and knows people's hearts and minds even better than most presidents, I would say.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, that's powerful. Definitely. All right. So our last question is going to be, if you weren't in professional rodeo, what would you be doing?
Business, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. I like brands. I like sales. I like to sell things. I like to sell things that I personally believe in that are adding value to people's lives. I would be in business for sure. I don't know exactly what, maybe the technology space, but definitely in some form of business. Not sure what that would be. I'm working on it now, but probably in business.
I was going to say, you kind of, with No Limits, right? Mentorship, you're kind of in going that direction and that path.
Yeah, well, we've always had, and I'll tell you all this, man. If in any young kid that dreams of being a professional athlete, you better listen up right now. The money that you make as an athlete is minute and compared to the money that you can make if you use your leverage and fame from the sport to back up a product or a service. Okay. And that's really what we've done. We've had a belt buckle company for over a decade. We do tens and thousands of belt buckles. We have a baby products business that's skewed Western. I have my mentorship program. My wife's in country music. So we always use like synergy. We use the Western industry and the fame that I've gotten off the Western industry to push and to build products that we think are of service to people. And I can tell you guys, man, it's something I love to do, but it's really where you get financially free as an athlete, because most athletes make a ton of money and then their career's over and they're used to spending like they were spending when they were athletes, and then they wind up flat broke. And I just watched that happen for years. I thought, man, if I ever get to a point where I can have a business that supports what I do, I'm going to do it.
Right. So kind of with that mindset, going back, you've had your back up against the wall several times throughout your career. Yeah. You've lost everything, I think, a couple different times.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Kind of back it up to a kid where you started. Did you, I know you kind of talked about, that poverty mindset, right?
Yeah.
Being young. And how did that all develop being a young kid? I think you lived kind of in an urban setting with your mother, and then your father had a ranch you were living on. So talk about that dynamic growing up. Cause that's a lot different than a lot of cowboys growing up.
Yeah. So I'm kind of like an urban cowboy a little bit. I when I was really little, my parents were married. They went through a really bad divorce, and it was just craziness in our house. And I lived with my mom in a city environment, and I was running with the kids in the neighborhood. I wore MC Hammer pants. I had long hair. I was listening to Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, all that.
Right.
That was like my role models at the time. And I remember like listening to Snoop Dogg and think, oh man, this is so cool what he's talking about, getting the girls and running from the police and all this stuff. And I was like, oh man, that's cool. So that's what I thought was neat, as a kid. So I would go, if I wanted food, I would just go steal it. If I wanted something, I would just go steal it. And I was getting so bad in school, so bad, guys, that I was in every learning disability class. I was behind years. My dad went to my mom and said, listen, if my kid stays in this environment, he's going to grow up and end up in jail. That's what's going to happen. So you need to send him to live with me on the ranch, and I'll straighten his ass out. And that's pretty much what happened. I moved to the ranch with my dad. I went from being city kid, long hair, baggy clothes, to being a country boy, to wearing Wranglers and boots and all that. And my dad sat me down. He said, Tyson, you're going to get straight A's. And I'm like, I haven't got an A in my life. There's no way in heck I'm going to get A's. He said, you're going to get A's. And our deal is you're going to be studying. If I'm working horses, you're going to be studying. Well, my dad worked, no joke. My dad worked every day from 7 a.m. to midnight. That's the schedule my dad worked his entire life. Probably why he, was married a few different times, because he just is a workaholic. And I remember I was studying social studies definitions. I fell asleep on the couch, and I wake up and my dad is whipping the crap out of me with a rope. And I mean, today's society is way over the line, like way, way, way over the line.
Right.
And I went to bed that night crying, and I had welts all over my back, my legs, because every time he whipped me, I'd try to jump out of the way. But I will honestly tell you guys, it's the best thing that ever happened to me, was getting that whooping, because I was so scared of my dad that I was like, I'm going to do whatever he says. I'm going to get straight A's. I'm going to be an overachiever. And I started applying myself. And that was a point in my life where I said, okay, I'm going one way, but right now I'm going a completely different path. And without that whooping, I would not be here today. I can honestly tell you. So I would tell y'all, the young guys coming up, like, don't expect it to be easy. You're going to get your ass kicked. It's going to hurt. There's going to be days that you wonder, maybe I can't move forward. There're going to be days where you say, I don't have enough money. There's going to be days where somebody's better than you. It's going to happen. And the difference between champions and maybe somebody who isn't or has a poverty mindset is that champions don't look at failure as a failure. They look at it as a learning experience, and it's an opportunity to say, okay, I'm not going to do that again. Let's shift, let's change our direction and go get what we want. We're so focused on our prize that we forget about the little petty mistake that we made, and we don't listen to people beating us up about it. It's the truth.
Right. So were you kind of going back and forth at that, like back in with your dad and your mom, or like how was that dynamic? I mean, going back to the ranch, were you starting to bring that mindset back to that urban environment too?
Man, honestly, not at all. I would go back and forth, and when I was in the city, 5 days a week, I would be city kid, skateboard, hang out, whatever. And when it was country time, I got rid of the baggy pants. I wore my jeans, my boots, my button down shirts, all that stuff. And of course, we didn't have any money at all, like zero. So I was wearing, clothes that was my brother's, who was 10 years older than me. That's just how we operated. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think growing up in those two environments, it just lets me be more well-rounded. And to this day, I really see, people that live and grow up in an ultra urban environment without any father figures. I really, understand where they're coming from to a certain extent. And I see where life can send you one way and life can send you another way. And, I'm just blessed enough that I had a dad that got me out of it. And there was, there's a lot of kids out there that don't have that. So that's why one of the reasons I put out that positive message all the time, to try to influence who I can, to try to help them into that mindset. Like, okay, Tyson started broke. I'm broke. Why can't I end up like Tyson? Or,
Right.
If he made it, I can make it. And I just want to give them, some kind of hope to say, hey, your life doesn't have to be on the streets. Your life can be whatever you want it to be. You just got to put yourself in the game.
Right. So how did that develop into, so you were kind of going back and forth, I guess, working hard on the ranch. When did you get into rodeo? Was your dad in it also?
So my dad rodeoed his whole life. My grandfather worked on a ranch and then later on worked for the county. And so when my dad was growing up, he lived right beside the county arena in a little tiny town, just a few hundred people. And he would go over there and he'd take his horse and he'd ride an arena and he'd dream of being a cowboy. And then when my dad was like 14, he went to work on a ranch away from my grandfather and my grandmother. And that's where he really got his first start, being roping and training rope horses and doing all that. And so my dad has been a cowboy his entire life. Like, I've never seen my dad not in a cowboy hat, long sleeve shirt, boots and spurs. To this day, I've never seen my dad in a cap or tennis shoes, ever. It's always cowboy hat, long sleeve shirt, boots and spurs, belt buckle. That's it. And so my dad was just this rock hard cowboy, and he trained horses. So we rode like 25 to 30 head a day. And your job, like my job, was just to work on the ranch, make sure the stalls were clean, make sure the barn was clean, make sure the horses were saddled, to help him work the horses. And then as I got into high school, I started training my own horses as well. So that's kind of what it looked like for me. And I'm actually thankful for it. I'm very thankful for the hard work that I got to put in young, because it created a life that I have now.
That's awesome. So kind of going back a little bit, you were talking about how you kind of got that really good butt whooping that one time, and it kind of changed your mentality. How do you see a difference between like that generation of, hard work and, just getting your butt kicked? Like you said, in today's society, it might not, it kind of seems over the line. What do you see from back then and to now, like these young NFR guys or these young rodeo guys?
Well, it's a lot different. I mean, when I come up, there were a lot of drugs on the scene. There was a lot of dope. There was a lot of marijuana. There was a lot of cocaine. I was kind of at the tail end of the cocaine era. Back in the 80s and 90s, a lot of cowboys did that stuff. But partying was very prevalent. When I came on the scene, go to the bar. Let's go to the bar, man. Let's chase some girls. Let's have fun. Let's do everything that cowboys do. And I will honestly tell you, in my 17-year career, whatever it is, like, it's completely different. 100%. I don't know where you would get drugs now. I have no idea where you would find that. None of the guys that I compete against go to the bar. Most of them don't even drink. I don't drink anymore. I quit.
Right.
But guys now, it's like, it's professional. It's professional. This is a business. We're representing sponsors. When I started rodeoing, there weren't sponsors. Like, there weren't big billion-dollar companies like, Ranger, Polaris Ranger, that got behind guys. Like, it just wasn't to that level yet. So there's been a big shift. And honestly, the guys I'm roping against now I think they're phenomenal individuals. We may not get along, and my job is to beat them, and their job is to meet me all the time. But deep down, they're all great guys. If you were broke down, they would help you out. If you needed a horse haul, they would help you out. And it's a business, and we're all very focused at what we want. Our goal is to be the champ. If your goal isn't to be the champ, there's no reason to step in the arena.
Right. So where did that change? Because I think going back to, you watch those old school movies, that old school stigma and mindset, right? Yeah. Going to the bar after the rodeo, everyone, all night long, waking up early hours of the morning. That's changed now. And I mean, you guys are like professional athletes, and not just a sense of the business, but also in the training aspect as well. Mm-hmm. You guys are like training like professional baseball players or football players are.
Yeah, I mean, it always follows money. If you look at NASCAR, you look at, any of those sports that have grown, UFC, whatever. When there gets to be a certain level of money and big endorsement deals getting thrown into the sport, things got to change, because these companies aren't going to be in the sport if you're going to be sponsored by a company and then go wrap your car around a tree driving home drunk from the bar. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, they're just not going to get behind you. And so what happens typically is the older guys that aren't willing to make that change, they don't get the endorsement deals that the younger guys do, that are clean cut, calm, cool, and collected, that represent well in social. The older guys phase out, and eventually enough younger guys come up and the companies come in. And, I seen a big shift in that probably 2010, probably. I was a rookie in 2003, and I made the finals the first time in 2007, but I think it really shifted about like 2010. You had Tough Cooper coming on the scene, you had Shane Hanshey coming on the scene, and both those guys were really young at that point and very clean. Like neither one of them chewed or drank or partied or anything. And essentially, the reason that a lot of us do that now is because we learned from those before us. We seen the guys that maybe had 5 world championships that's going to end up broke because, he's belligerent when he gets drunk at the bar. Or we just learn from that, and we say, all right, well, if that didn't work for him, what's going to work for us now? Okay, well, we need to get big endorsement deals. We need to not drink. We need to not make fools of ourselves, and we need to change what it looks like to be a cowboy. And when you change that, you get the attention from bigger brands, and I think Tough was a great one. Trevor Brazil, I've known Trevor for a long time, probably close to 20 years. And I've never seen him, carry himself wrong. I've never seen him be that bad boy. And Strand Smith was another one. Strand was phenomenal in the 90s and early thousands. And so, we just tried to model guys like that, and that always had the big endorsement deals. If you look back, like Strand had the big endorsement deals, and say maybe a couple like Cody O might have had a couple, but he didn't keep them because, he was so wild.
Right.
And I always just model the guys that look like we're going to be successful and say, what did they do? Strand did this, Trevor did that. Okay, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do this. And I think, me, myself, Shane, Tough, some of those guys, Shad, Mayfield now, Haven Medjid, some of these younger guys coming up, they're really doing a phenomenal job as well.
Right. And it's like, that's exciting stuff. But at the end of the day, like, they're not paying your bills either, right? Like the sponsors are the ones that are helping you, stay afloat and helping you thrive. And that's what the sponsor is looking for. So it makes sense, the evolution that the sport's going into.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Bull riding's the same way.
Right.
If you're a company and you could get behind a wild, crazy guy that's at the bar every night and causing problems, or you get behind maybe like a Jess Lockwood, like, or a Kaique Pacheco or whoever, some guy that's just very clean cut, like you're going to go after that guy that's clean cut because you might be able to get this guy for, $10,000 or $15,000, but that if you get Lockwood for $50,000 or $100,000, like, your brand's safe. Right. That there's not going to be any craziness or bad stuff going on. So that's kind of just the evolution. If you watch any sport, it's been the same way. Basketball was the same way. It doesn't matter where the big sponsorship and advertising dollars go. You've seen guys clean up because we want a better future for our family.
Yeah, I seen Jess. He just broke his damn jaw. Was like a week or so ago. He's been eating out of a straw the last week.
He's had a tough couple years. Yeah, man. He's a good guy.
He's a solid kid.
Yeah.
So kind of going off of that, we're talking about, how things have changed, and obviously the workout regimens, the science behind, working on your body. LeBron James spends $1 million on his body every year. What does your workouts look like, and how much has that changed throughout your career? Obviously, aging as well. You obviously have to take care of your body at a much higher level. How does that go?
Supplements. I do a lot of different stuff, man. I've hired the best trainers at times that I felt could get me to the next level. I have my own personal gym here at my house, and it's got everything I need. It's nothing fancy, but I live in the middle of nowhere. Like, I live 25 miles from the nearest town that has a gym. So I have to have everything out here on my ranch. And so, before the finals, it's crazy. I work out, hour to hour and a half every day. That's just the workout side. And then there's the training side. So that's another 2.5 hours a day. So, all in between the training and the workout, it's a minimum of 4 hours a day. Right now, I backed off a little bit just because there's no competitions to go to. There's very, very few going on with COVID right now. But I started working out seriously when I met my wife. She was a big reason. I had never worked out at all. I'd made the finals, a couple of times, and she said, you should really start working out. It'd help you flank these calves. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like this really scrawny guy, and I had no mass to me whatsoever. I was successful in the rodeo business, but that was only because there was nobody that worked out back then. So 10 years ago, I really, really dialed in the exercises, really dialed in the workouts. For 2 years, I had Jay Novacek. He's a 3-time Super Bowl champion, tied in with the Dallas Cowboys. He was my personal trainer, and he's probably the biggest reason why I got my first gold buckle. Those workouts and those training sessions were the hardest I've ever done in my life. He would push me till I would be sick to my stomach every single day. And, but he would always ask me where I was at and make sure that it's good to get pushed, but it's not good to get broke. So he would push me to that limit every day. And I felt as hard as I'd ever felt in my life, when I was working with him all the time. And he kind of still helps me out, mentors me from the side. But we don't work out together every day. And since then, I've hired some of the best that I could possibly get. Really, in my event, it's not really about like having big arms or a big chest. It's mostly about having a really strong core and really, really strong legs. Because when you jump off that horse going 25, 30 miles an hour and you go down and you flank the calf, it's all legs. People think it's upper body, but it's all legs. Everything is with the legs. So probably, I would say a good 60 to 70% of what I do is all legs.
Yeah. And I mean, it's so close in your sport, right? Like,
yeah,
by the 10th or 1000th of a second.
A tenth of a second is an eternity. I mean,
right.
That could cost you $10,000, a tenth of a second.
So those little things, training with, those personal trainers are just trying to find some type of edge. That could be the difference in winning a world title or not.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what I do, guys, it's just like football. You study the tapes, you study the other guys, you find out moves that other guys are doing that you could apply to what you're doing. You're watching where you're losing time, and not only you, but you're watching your horse too, right? You're studying every move the horse makes as well as every move you make. And it's one of those things where, just the slightest movement could cost you 0.2 of a second, and 0.2 of a second could be the difference of first or fifth. So, we break it down big time, and we really try to be as fast and as sharp as you possibly can. That way, you gather up as much money as you can. And honestly, at my age, at 37, I'm not as fast as I was at 23 or 24. So I have to be as smooth as possible. And so really for me, I look at different ways that I can shave time by maybe moving my feet a little bit different or shifting my hips when I'm getting down the rope or getting off a little bit quicker. So that's kind of where I'm at now. And I don't know, I can't say for all the young guys, but because I don't rope with them all, one-on-one, but as fast as they are, I'd say they're doing something right in the gym.
So kind of going off that, we're talking about everything. So tell me the story about the pink shirt. That's what everyone wants to know. That's your signature. That's your signature go-to. That's what people know you by. Obviously, they know you by your talent as well and your performance. But we want to know about the pink shirt.
I've always had a heart for people. Like, I like people. I genuinely like individuals, and I don't care where you come from, if you're a country guy or city guy or you're white or you're, Mexican or African American. I don't care what you are. I love people. And my mother-in-law, or excuse me, my stepmother at the time, she's from Hawaii, and she's half Japanese, and she was going through a bunch of like cancer scares, and I'm like, man, this sucks. I feel really bad for her. She's sick. She doesn't feel right. And they go to the doctor right before I go to the Canadian finals and then to the national finals. And they said, you know what, you've got 2 grapefruit-sized tumors that are in you, like around your ovaries. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's massive, 2. And I said, I went to her, and this whole tough enough to wear pink thing had come on the rodeo scene. I went to her, I said, hey, I'm going to wear a pink shirt at the Canadian finals and the national finals, and I'm going to donate 10% of my earnings to wherever you want me to put it at. And she was like, really? And what it did was it like lifted her spirits. It made her feel good, and that I wanted to do that for her. Now, I went with the pink shirt because rodeo had already had a pink thing going on, right? And so I go to the national finals, I go to the Canadian finals, and hold on a second, let me grab one of these shirts. Sorry to go off camera, just so everybody knows. This is what I wear
awesome.
every time.
That's what I was talking about.
And so it really stands out. Like, so I go to the Canadian finals, I go to the NFR, I donate the money to Susan G. Komen at the time. This is 2008. Gosh, 13 years ago, long time ago. Anyway, and it just lifted her spirits. And I thought, man, I did something good. I like that. I made her feel good. And that was kind of like my first like spot with like loving to motivate and inspire and just get people moving. You know what I'm saying? And I was only going to do it at the national finals, the Canadian finals, and that was it. And back then I didn't have any sponsors. So it wasn't I was like logoed out. I could literally just change from a pink shirt to a gray shirt. It didn't matter. Like, I didn't have to worry about sponsor contracts or any of that because I didn't have any of them, And that was going to be it. No more pink shirt. I was like, oh man, this pink thing's kind of like, it's a lot, because people are coming up to me every day. Hey, it's not pink night. Hey, why are you wearing a pink shirt tonight? So it was like the same conversation thousands and thousands and thousands of times with people, because they didn't understand. Each individual didn't understand why I was wearing a pink shirt at the time. They just thought that I didn't realize that it wasn't pink night at the rodeo. And so, after the finals, that was it. That was all I was going to do. Then I had people come up to me just nonstop. Hey, you lifted my mother-in-law's spirits. Hey, you lifted my grandmother's spirits. Hey, my sister, man, you really picked her spirits up. And then a lady came up to me at Fort Worth. She said, hey, why don't you just wear it all the time? And I was like, why don't I just wear it all the time? I can just wear it all the time. And I did. And I started wearing it every time. It's 13 years ago. But I will tell you that there is a benefit in being different than everybody else. I've done a lot in the rodeo business. I'm a world champion. That's phenomenal. That's great. But most people know me for being the guy in pink. And that it helped me because it made me different than the rest of the field. But then I was also helping people in the process. So I thought it was a win-win. It's something that's given more to me than I could ever give to it. And I kind of got branded. Now, if I don't wear a pink shirt, people don't know who I am.
Right. So like kind of just pitting yourself out and standing out, right? And
yeah, like I've never cared what anybody else thinks. Like, I mean, my dad, I care what my dad and my mom and my wife think. But other than that, like, I never cared if, some other famous competitor came up to me and said, that looks stupid. I really don't give a damn. It doesn't matter to me. Now, if they say that to me, it's only going to hurt them because I'm going to work harder to kick their ass,
Right, yep.
So, 100%. And I think that's where a lot of young people get it wrong. We're so used to like double tapping for a like. I want more likes. I want more attention. I want people to love me. But honestly, people will love you more if you just be yourself and don't try so hard,
right.
Because
I think a lot of people, especially younger generation, they care so much about what other people think of them.
Yeah.
And it kind of starts controlling them and their lives.
Yeah. if you look at social media, we all want more followers. We want more followers, want more likes. We've been programmed now for a decade of this social media, era that we want more, we want more, we want more. And it's almost like a type of currency because the more likes you get, the better you feel about yourself. And if you don't get enough likes, it's like, oh, I need to be this person to get more likes. And honestly, it's just forming a fake individual. It's forming a fake reality, a false, positive. You got to be yourself and allow those people that like you to follow you, and those that don't. That's okay.
Right.
And it scares me to death. Like this scares me to death. I have 2 daughters, right? 2 daughters. If my daughters compare their real life to some other girl's social media profile, that scares me to death. Because the truth is that real life is nothing like social media. It's just not.
Right.
It's not real at all. And so we tend to, and myself included, because I like following those fitness channels, and seeing those guys that are just ripped up. I would love to look like that someday. I would, but the truth is, I don't want to spend 4 hours in the gym. I got 2 kids and 3 businesses, and I'm a pro athlete. And you know what? That's okay. I'm probably never going to look like that guy over there. But, in my mind, I catch myself saying, hey, don't compare yourself to that. Don't compare yourself to that because, it's just not real. We always put our fake, or I don't want to say fake, but best self on social.
Yeah, you don't put your bad moments on there.
I do.
Yeah, you do, but most people don't though, right?
Most people don't though, because I want to be real. I want to be transparent with people. I don't want to be fake.
And people like that though. That's the thing. Like people actually want to see that.
I really think you're right about that. I think that people like to see real life.
Yeah.
They don't like to see, oh, I'm perfect. Oh, this is my butt pick, or this is my duck lips. If you look at maybe a girl that is a beautiful lady that shows a little bit too much skin all the time, I would say the majority of her followers are just perv guys,
Yeah.
Right.
So, and I've done it before too. I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to be a complete hypocrite, but why not have people follow you that engage with your lifestyle and your realness? You know what I'm saying? If you're a cowboy, they engage with being a cowboy. If you're a rapper, they engage with the music that you make, the artist in you, or your lifestyle. If you're a police officer, they engage with, thank you for the support that you bring. You know what I mean? Not just the fake stuff.
Yeah, 100%. I kind of see it the same way, is that, if I had 20,000 followers and only 1,000 of them cared about me, I really don't want the other 19,000 to follow me at that point, So it's just, and
I think that's just, I think you're spot on. I just think we're programmed as a culture now that we're so used to double tapping for the like, or, hitting that button, and it shapes who we are. So I think it's something we just got to pay attention to. I'm not saying social media is bad. It's a tool like everything else. You can use it for good, or you can use it for bad. I choose to use it for good. So use it how you see fit. Just make sure that you're protecting yourself in all areas. That's all I say.
Right. So when you were coming up, sleeping in your truck and everything like that, were you ever kind of in that mindset? You talked about the poverty mindset, and were you comparing yourself to others, feeling sorry for yourself at any time back then?
Man, I don't think I ever compared myself to other people that much. I compared myself to others once I started to get a little bit successful, more so than in the beginning. Like when I was in the beginning, I was such an underdog that very few people thought that I was going to make it. Right. And I don't even know that I was even enough on the radar that they even thought about me, period. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it wasn't like they were against me or anything. It was just that I was so far off the radar. I don't think that anybody thought of me as a threat, as far as competition. But I do remember, my dad and I have had a love-hate relationship for a long time. And that ended years ago. We're great now. We're great friends. We talk all the time. But when I left Missouri and I moved out to Washington on my own, we were on really bad terms. And I just wanted to win so bad so I could show him that I would make it, right? I wanted to show my dad that I could make it, that I would be successful, that I could win. And I don't know why. I was just like, I'm going to show him. I'm going to show him that I'm going to make it. And that just fueled me so much. It fueled me so much through high school, through the early pros. Like, I just will not quit. It's just me. Like, and not so much now, but in the beginning I was like, I'll either die or I'm going to get my goal. Like, there was no, and there still is, like, my wife gets so mad at me because I don't have a hobby. She's like, you need a hobby, Tyson. And I'm like, I do business. I play with my family in a rope. That's it. Like, I don't hunt. I don't fish. I don't go hang out with my friends. I just don't have a hobby. But I'm either black or white. Like, I'm either all in or I'm all out. I just don't skate in the middle ground. And maybe that's just me. Maybe I got it as a young child. I don't know. But I just wanted to prove him that I could make it, because he came close to making it, to the finals and being a big name. And then he decided to be a trainer. So he was a trainer for the other athletes and the horses and stuff like that. And I just wanted to prove to him that I could make it. And that's really what fueled me. I remember going to sleep one night, sleeping in the backseat of my truck. I know I had $250 in my checking account, and I had about $20,000 on a credit card and credit line at the bank, trying to chase this rodeo thing, upside down big time. And I was so mad that I was crying in the backseat of my truck. And I called my dad, and I'm like, Dad, what do you think I should do? He's like, well, just focus on the basics and execute the basics, and you'll do good tomorrow, and you'll make enough money to go to the next rodeo. And I'm like, okay, well, that didn't, I know the basics. I just need to win. I want to win. And so then I called my mentor at the time, and he laughed. He's like, oh, that's nothing. And he was a big business guy. So, like 20,000 to him was like $5 to us, or to like a normal person. He run a multi-million-dollar corporation. He's like, it's not that big of a deal. If you don't win tomorrow, you can shoe a horse, or you can build a fence, or you can do something to keep going. He's like, don't worry about it. Just stay positive, stay optimistic, and keep moving forward. And this guy used to always tell me, he said, Tyson, the power of the mind is infinite. And I didn't really, two things he told me: the power of the mind is infinite, and you're always building your brand, always. And it didn't sink in at that time because I was so young. Now looking back, I'm like, yes, with mind you can do anything, and brand is the most important thing that you can ever have. It's more important than money, all of that. So the next day, and granted, this would have been the second time I went completely beyond broke to try to chase my dream of rodeo. And I ended up winning third in the next go around and second at that rodeo. I won $4,000, and 19 out of the next 20 rodeos I won a check at. And I became the first American in history to win a Canadian national champion that year. And then the next year I went on the big tour, and I won, made the finals and did all that stuff, and been going ever since. But if I would have quit, there's no way that I would have ever, be in the position where I'm talking to you guys today.
Right. Yeah. I think it's all about, when you have a goal set, it's always knowing your why and why you're doing something. Like you said, that feel from your dad, it fueled you, and you just kept going 100%. And I kind of see that in myself as well, with a baby on the way. And I think about it, I know my why, and I know why I'm fueled, and I know why I want to be better. And I think if you have a goal, you should know your why. And that's, and that'll lead you to the promised land. It really will. So
100%. And to those people out there that are like, I don't know what my why is. I don't know what I want to do. I always tell people, where does your mind naturally gravitate? Let's say you're sitting in your office and you're gravitating, and your mind's thinking about fishing, or your mind's gravitating towards, working on your muscle car, or your mind's there is a business for you in anything in America. Listen, I tie calves' legs together for a living, and I've made millions of dollars doing that. Anybody can make money doing anything in America. I'm serious. Just find something you love and follow it. Follow your mind. Where does your mind go? Does it gravitate towards riding a horse in the pasture? Does it gravitate towards fishing? Does it gravitate towards helping, inner city youth? There's a business model for everything in America. So if I can do it, then anybody else can do it. And that's how I found my why. For many years, my mind would gravitate towards, I would daydream about being a world champion. I would daydream about roping at the national finals. I would daydream about, making millions of dollars. And, I'm a work in progress like anybody else, but because I followed my passion, I think that's the only reason I'm successful, you know?
Yeah. And I like that idea. And I mentioned this at the very beginning, you're back against a wall. Because this year in 2020, I think it was coming to the last rodeo, the finale, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were sitting outside, I think outside the top 15, was it?
A long ways, yes.
Long ways
out of the top 15.
And you basically had to win, right? You had to win in order to get inside and make it to the finals.
Yeah, I had to win everything. I couldn't just like coming into the last few days of competition, I had to win first every time I nodded my head to make the finals. And I like pressure, guys. I like pressure. I honestly, if I don't have pressure, I perform worse. It's so true. I have to have pressure on my back to be comfortable. And I think it goes back like to, you know, the volatility of my childhood, the parenting, you know, the just craziness that was going on there. My from the time I was a kid, my back was always against the wall. When I was little and with my mom, my back was against the wall to get food. So I would go steal it, or I would go bum meals at kids' houses, and I would make sure and go from one house to the next house to the next house to the next house, so I didn't wear out my welcome, you know. And as I grew up older, you know, I'm like, all right, I'm 12 years old. I started paying for everything myself. My dad didn't buy my clothes for me when I was 12. I paid for everything. 14, living on my own. Lived on my own from 14 on. By the time I graduated high school, I had 30 grand in my checking account, you know, and a car paid for. And there's so much of like my backstory that I hadn't told a lot of people, but I got comfortable with pressure, you know, pressure back against the wall. And I just feel like, you know, people look at pressure as a bad thing, but comfort is the biggest killer.
Right.
Being comfortable 100%. Is the biggest killer. It's a slow asphyxiation to mediocrity.
Right.
And I have to remind myself, because I'm a little bit comfortable right now, guys. I mean, you know, I'm in a good spot in my career. I've got multiple businesses, and that's great. But I have to really focus and say, all right, you know what, Tyson, today your back's against the wall. You got to get this done. You got to get that done. You got to move forward. And I think pressure is a great thing. You know, I've been in that position to make the finals a couple times and succeeded. One time in my career, I failed. And I've been in that position many times for a world championship. One time I've succeeded. I've had 5 chances with my back against the wall to win a world championship. I've done it once. So I just don't look at it as a bad thing. Pressure is a good thing. It develops you. It pushes you. It's like going to a gym and thinking, how the hell am I going to get bigger? You know, just standing here looking at them. You got to get in there and move that weight around and break your muscles down and be tired and sore and push to the point where you can't do another rep. That's how you get that body like that guy you see on Instagram, you know? And so that's the way I look at pressure. I love it. I'm thankful for it. And don't get me wrong. I don't want to be broke again, because being broke was the worst thing ever. I don't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy it, mostly because of the pressure that puts on a family. But other than that, man, we're just going to keep working, keep moving forward.
That's awesome. So how big of an underdog were you going into that 2016 season when you actually won it all?
Yeah. So I qualified for the national finals at the second to last rodeo of the season, very similar to 2020. Right. I skated in at 14th place in the world, and I came from 14th place to first over the 10 days. And coming into the last day of competition, I think I was like 8th or 9th in the standings. And like when they did the projections for the projected world champions, they didn't even put me on the screen.
Underdog.
Talk about fuel.
Underdog, man. And I'm like, perfect. This is great. I have an opportunity to rattle their cage, you know, and I know things got to work out right, but you keep putting your name in the hat and eventually you're picked, you know. For me, it's like people quit too soon. Like they quit too soon. Maybe they tried to achieve their dream 3 times and they failed 3 times and they quit. The difference between, you know, myself and maybe some other people is that I just won't quit. If I see something that I want, if I truly want it, I just will not quit. Like I have to die before I quit. That's just the bottom line. And I told myself starting in 2006 in my journal The first sentence in my journal, I will be a world champion. I started writing that in 2006. It took 10 years of getting my ass kicked, of being broke, of breaking bones, coming back from injuries, people telling me I'd never make it, to finally getting it done. And I think one of the reasons is because I'm just too stupid to quit. I mean, I'm just too stupid to quit. That's just the bottom line. I think if you keep your name in the hat, which is a rodeo slang, like you keep putting your effort, and you keep putting yourself in position, eventually you get there. Then when you get there, people are going to say, oh, that guy was lucky. Can you believe how lucky he was to come from 14th to number 1 to win the championship? But they didn't see the 10 years of grinding ahead of that spotlight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and most people don't, like, people see the world title, right, in 2016 and all these accolades, but they don't always see that getting up at, early in the morning, working all day, training and working horses and everything else that goes along with it.
Yeah, man. I mean, when I was in high school, I started, I think 14. I was 14 years old when I started living on my own. And my dad had a ranch like where we trained the horses. And then he had just a little house in a really small town about 15 miles away. Well, when my dad would get done riding, it was my job to take care of, mine and my brother's job to take care of, 50 head of horses and a few hundred head of calves and do all that. And then, after that, back then, I was either working till like midnight, or, if I wasn't working like on my craft getting better, then I would like braid halters. And halters, what you put on a horse's head to like lead them around, because I could make an extra $10 doing it. And so I was just constantly working. And then, but my day started at 4:30 to 5 o'clock the next morning. So I mean, most of my high school career, I would say the most sleep I got was 6 hours of sleep a night. I mean, a best case scenario. So then when I get up early, I would practice my craft for 2 hours before I went to school. And then when I got home from school, or when I got out of school, I'd go shoe horses and make cash, get home about 8. And then from 8 to midnight, I would work again. So I just worked all the time. But like for me, that was normal because my dad did it. My brothers did it. The hired man did it. Like we all did it. So it was normal. But I think that's one thing that the younger generation needs to really realize. You don't have to get up at 4:30 in the morning. That's just the time I had available. You know what I'm saying? And I wanted it more than I wanted sleep. But you got to work. You got to work. You got to do the work. You got to put in the effort. And there's balance with that. You don't want to burn yourself out. I've been on the border of burning myself out a lot. But you got to put in the work to get successful. It's the bottom line. You got to put, and if you're like at a job, like if you're at a job, so like Eric, you're a police officer, correct?
Yes, sir.
If you have a side hustle that you love, then do that side hustle on the side of work. Do it for an hour or 2 hours a day. And then eventually you're like, man, I don't want to strap the badge on anymore. I want to teach people self-defense,
Right.
then just work your way into it. And that's really what I did, was because I had to put in my side hustle plus my regular hustle, because the regular hustle paid the bills and the side hustle was going to be my future. And that's really what I did. And it wouldn't have happened without the work. You got to put in the work.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we're at now. We obviously do this for fun, and we love having these conversations. But we take a lot of time out of the day just to get this going and have these awesome conversations and learn from you and other guests, and so
yeah. We thank you and appreciate it. And kind of going forward, you have 2 girls, it's Praise and Risen, correct?
Risen, yeah,
Risen. That's how you pronounce it, Risen.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I wanted to spell it Risen, but my wife was like, "No, we got to make it weird." So she put a Y in there.
So
praise isn't like praise the Lord, and risen as the King is risen. So that's kind of where we're at.
Do you plan, or do you think they'll get into any type of not even rodeo, but just with horses in general in their future? Do you see a future?
I think so. Rodeo? I think kids a lot of times model the behavior of their parents.
Sure.
Will they do what I've done? I don't know. If they want to do it, I will do everything in my power to help them. I'm not going to give it to them. They're going to have to work hard on their own. But if they want to run barrels or if they want to rope or rodeo, I will do everything I can to help them. But they just need to know it's a very tough lifestyle. It's very tough. It's hard to make a living. You can end up broke and beat up, but if they love it, I just want them to chase their passion, man. Just go at it 100%. Don't float around. Just find something you love and go after it 100%. And you know what? Even if they go after it 100% and don't achieve their dreams, at least they can live with themselves and say, hey, I left it all on the field.
Sure.
I did everything in my power. I worked. I put in the hours. I tried, and I tried it over and over and over. But there's something about like chasing your passion that even though you don't like get to the goal all the time, you love what you're doing. So it's not that big a deal. Like people say to me, like, Tyson, well, how'd you wake up so early through high school? Well, I wanted to be the best calf roper in the world, and I thought I could be, and I worked my tail into the ground, and I actually enjoyed it. That's why I got up in the morning. The people that don't want to go chase their passion, they float around. They probably sleep too much. They probably watch too much Netflix. They probably don't exercise. Nobody taught them that those are things that you're not supposed to do. Like, you're supposed to exercise. You're supposed to, maybe limit your TV watching to under an hour a day. You're supposed to read more. You're supposed to work hard. Like, I just want to model that behavior for them so they can get out there and chase their passion, whatever it is. If it's acting, great, let's act. If it's golf, okay, I don't know anything about golf, but I'll find somebody who's the best and I'll get them behind you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it's rodeo, then let's rodeo, I can do that. So I just really want them to chase their passion and be a beneficial human being to society. That to me is probably the most important.
Yeah. And they have some great teachers and both their parents. So
well, I appreciate that. I think mom does most of the work. I'm just I just do whatever mom says. Let's put it that way.
Keep her happy. So, what would you kind of leave the younger, whether it's a younger generation coming up in rodeo, athletes, someone going into business, whatever it is, what advice would you leave them with to be successful and reach their full potential?
Man, that's a good question because I could go 100 different angles with that. Number one, find what you love. Find what you love. Listen to your mind. Your mind will gravitate towards the thing that you love. The world will tell you what you should do, but your mind will tell you where you need to go. So, number one, listen to your mind. Find that thing that you love. Okay. Number two, failure is not a bad thing. Mistakes are not a bad thing. They're actually needed to get to the next level. So, don't waste your time beating yourself up if you make a mistake. Okay. That's just wasted energy. We all have only so much energy in this world. Don't waste your time beating yourself up. Don't listen to what everybody else says. People are going to tell you you're going the wrong direction. They're going to tell you a million different things. They're going to say you're not good enough. You're too fat. You're too skinny. You don't have enough money. They're going to say all these things, but listen to your mind and listen to your heart and go that direction. And you know what? You're going to love the process. Don't just put your mind on the shiny thing up there, the gold buckle, the world championship, the whatever. Love the process. If you can love the process, that the rewards will come. If you can love the process, the money will come, the fame will come, the endorsement deals will come, people will gravitate towards you. Have you guys ever wondered why athletes have a lot of followers? Because they love what they do and people are living that journey with them. And that could be the same for you out there. If you're living that journey, that thing that you love, that you're passionate about, people will naturally just gravitate towards you. So chase your passion. And don't quit. Never quit. Don't give up. Keep going. When you feel like quitting, you're probably that far away.
Right.
Yeah. Your greatest breakthroughs usually come at the point of most struggle. 100%.
Yeah, definitely. That's really powerful, and we appreciate that. So kind of my last question for you is, we never want to see you hang it up. We always want to see the men in pink, but looking forward, what's the future look like for Tyson Durfey?
Well, I love the sport of rodeo. I love living a Western lifestyle. My goal is to continue to add value to anybody's life that chooses to watch me or follow me or do any of that. Right now, I have a mentorship program. I've been working hard on that for a couple of years, but it was really just a proof of concept. The next thing for me is Rodeo Cowboy College. Rodeo Cowboy College is going to be the complete blueprint to get people into the sport of rodeo, whether it's riding a horse or learning how to rope or how to ride a bull or how to ride a bareback horse or how to team rope. I'm putting together a network nationwide of arenas and training facilities nationwide that can get people in. So if you call me and you're from Orange County and you want to learn how to rope, okay, well, I got an arena in San Bernardino that can teach you how to do that. It's going to be courses. It's going to be programs that teach people how to do everything involved with rodeo, as well as personal mentorship and guidance through that process. And so that's what I'm working on now. I'm really excited about it. It's basically the No Limits mentorship program on steroids, maxing out, everything that we can, because I truly believe there's, tens and thousands of people out there that love the Western lifestyle, that love the sport of rodeo, that would get in if they only knew how and the pathway was easier.
Yeah.
So that's really what my next step is. I'm still going to be rodeoing. I'm still going to be doing that and chasing my passion, but I've really been working hard on Rodeo Cowboy College, and I just feel like there's a nation of cowboys out there that want to live that Western experience that don't have the opportunity to do it because maybe they live in a city or they don't have a dad that was in the sport of rodeo or a family member. So my goal is to make that process simple for them and give them an avenue to get involved, whether it be, working at a rodeo or competing at a rodeo.
Yeah. And I think that's going to, that's amazing, number one. And that's going to enrich so many lives and elevate the sport of rodeo.
That's the goal, man.
Because the camaraderie in rodeo and the Western lifestyle is incredible, right? It brings people together. Yeah. And with what you're doing there, it sounds like you're going to be able to bring a lot of people together and influence a lot of people. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to do it. I'm really excited because where I came from as a young kid in an urban environment, like if I could convince some of those kids to come out and get involved in rodeo, I think it could change their lives because there's really you look at the American cowboy, you look a person in the eye when you talk to him, you shake their hand, you address them with respect. We know we have each other's back. There's just so many good values that are embodied in the Western lifestyle that I want to teach the youth, and I also want to teach other people and help other people with. So I'm excited about it. And I just got to acknowledge you guys. Thanks for having me here today on the podcast. And thanks for taking time out of your day to interview me. It's been
we appreciate it. And we do have one more thing. So it's called the Freedom Fighter of the Week. So this is a person, or it could be more than one person, I suppose, that has been most influential in your life and helping you get to where you are today. So who's your Freedom Fighter of the Week, Tyson?
Oh man, there's so many. My dad taught me how to rope. He gave me horses. He gave me cattle. He believed in me. He was my biggest critic at times, but he was also my biggest pusher at times. So my dad, a guy named Fred Brown from Washington, he was a personal mentor of mine for a decade. He poured a lot of wisdom and knowledge into me, and pushed me to get past like the negative mindset that I used to have. And lastly, my wife, man, if I could tell anybody out there, pick a woman that's got your back, that is ride or die, because if you pick that right person and they're loyal, man, they will pull you through the valleys in life and they'll keep you pushing. I can honestly tell you that I wouldn't be where I am without my wife helping me out, because there were so many times I wanted to give up and she was my biggest motivator.
Incredible. And where can our listeners that are listening to this podcast, where can they reach you at? Where can they follow you at? If, they're looking for mentorship or whatever they are, where can they reach you at?
Yeah, just Tyson Durfey on all social channels. I'm biggest on Instagram and Facebook. You can just check me out. Make sure on Facebook to hit my fan page. My personal page is maxed out. And then, if you want to get involved in the sport of roping, you can always check out the nolimitsmentorship.com, where you can sign up for that. But yeah, man, I'm pretty much anywhere. You Google my name, it'll pop up. Yeah, there's not too many Tyson Durfeys out there. No. It really works out good.
Yeah. Pretty uncommon name.
Yeah. That's cool.
So, all right, Mr. Durfey, I just want to thank you for coming on the show. It's been awesome. You've been one of my favorite guests, so you filled me in with a lot of knowledge and a lot of inspiration. I'm ready to conquer the day now, so I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. That's awesome, and thank you for your service.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate you, and just thank you for coming on and giving you your time. Time's so valuable, and we appreciate it.
No, I'm glad to do it, man. I love y'all. Hope y'all have a great day. And if there's anything I can help you with in the future, don't hesitate to reach out, all right?
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ty.
Thank you for listening to this episode. We appreciate you and your support of the show. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave feedback on Apple Podcasts.